a Trump VA, what does VA disability look like? And rip the Band-Aid off approach, okay? And I know we're going to have negative comments, which is fine, and we're not going to delete them, okay? And just so everyone knows, I read every single comment. I may not respond, but I read them all. I get about 3,200 comments on average a month. Now, Jason has 4 times as many videos as I do, so he's probably, it's a full-time job for him to read his comments, I assume, right? Hopefully, I get to where you're at one day, Jason. So I read them all. I don't delete them. I may not respond, but I read every single one. And I'm prefacing that because Project 2025 is over here. It is that wish list. You can talk about how, a certain side of the aisle media, if you will, really correlated Project 2025 and Trump. You can talk about that. You can even say that Trump, worked with people who worked at the Heritage Foundation. You can say all of that, all right? And you can even say, and this is probably the best argument that anyone has on Project 2025, is with a Trump administration, a red Senate, and a red House, if P 2025 was going to be enacted, it would be now. You could say that, and that is at least that's the most logical thing you could say with that, okay? However, politicians on an individual level are not going to, and when I say Project 2025, I'm specifically talking about VBA right now, right? VHA talks about privatization, and we already covered that. There's some goods and some bads in that we need to have a pulse on. I'm specifically talking about the section in Project 2025 that is titled VBA. It's about 6 pages, I think, Jason, right? It's not that long. And so that's what we are referring to right now. So when I say P25, I'm honing in on the VBA aspect side of the house. You have P25 over here, which has a wish list of ways to cut federal spending. This is not a Vivek Elon Musk conversation. That's over here too. This is P25 only. I have to say that because people will correlate that together. It happens all the time. And so that's the goal of Project 2025 is cut the deficit. Right. Cut spending, which arguably I think everyone could agree with. We need to cut spending, federal spending somehow, some way. Maybe not how P2025 wants to do it. Okay. But that's the goal of Project 2025, which is over here. You have Trump administration over here. Now, this is largely conservative. When I say largely, it's because you have some libertarian figureheads within P25 as well. I don't want to get too deep into that. But yes, federal government is bad. Okay. Anyways, it's largely conservative, right? You see anti-abortion stuff in Project 2025. That's why I'm saying it's largely conservative. That does not mean it's a Trump thing. You can say JD Vance has, personal relationships with those and the Heritage Foundation, which is a statement of fact. That's not wrong. But again, you have Trump, JD Vance, admin over here. You have Elon Musk and Vivek over here. You have Doug Collins. That's his name, right? Doug Collins, the new VA secretary over here. I cannot wait to make thumbnails with his face on it whenever he does something I don't like. And all over here. Project 2025 over here. I'm sorry I took so long to explain that. I just really want people to know these are not connected. Okay.
Yeah.
And on the individual level, if any politician introduces in the House or the Senate to slash VA benefits, and in the VBA portion of P25, it talks about, this is paraphrased, and we did a video on this and we quoted it, but paraphrase is, P25 wants to cut the regulations for service-connected disabilities that are not as directly related to military service, right? Meaning it's correlated. So I think sleep apnea secondary to PTSD would be a good example. It's correlation, right? Or sinusitis under the PACT Act. Okay. That is not causation, it's correlation. Now, you have many studies that led to the PACT Act, on which the conditions chosen for the PACT Act weren't just, randomly selected. There's medical evidence, tons of it, studies that dictate what is what. But that's essentially what P25 wants to do. I want you to imagine, on an individual politician level, you enact, hey, I want to cut veteran benefits. Yeah, your career's over. It's over. It's over. Now, looking at it from a party perspective, because remember, Republicans run the White House, the Senate, and the House, which is quite wild, right? That is insane. Big win for Republicans. If anyone's wondering, no, I'm not Republican. No, I'm not a Democrat. I don't know if Jason wants to share his views, but I'll share that, but nothing else. Anyways, food for thought. There you go. But from a party perspective, if a party cuts VA benefits, that party is gone. You might as well just rename, pick a new color, and go that route, right? So, I know a YouTube video is not going to put you at ease, especially me, in my voice that says, "Hey, your VA benefits are safe. Stop freaking out." I've had someone commented, Trump's getting rid of the PACT Act. I'm like, bro, what tea are you drinking, right? What shrooms are you taking? Give me some. What does that look like for you? Just turn the news off. I just made a video last week, Jason, and I said, hey, turn the news off. Turn off the TV. Get off of TikTok. Heck, get off of YouTube. Watch our videos, though. Just Veterans Daily, Veterans Info Tap, and CivDiv. Yeah. Watch those three. Then get off of YouTube and go outside, get some vitamin D in your life. Look at the sun. Let the sun hit your skin and just breathe, okay? If someone who's in office affects your life that much, you got to be high up in the political scale, right? For every average day Joe, and I live 10 minutes from DC. I work as a federal civilian. I am entwined with the federal government, which hurts my soul to say. But I don't care who's in the White House. My life's not affected, right? So if your life sucked last week, 2 weeks ago, guess what happens when Trump takes over in January or early February?
January.
Super Bowl time frame, whatever. Anyways, if your life sucked before that, your life's going to suck now. And if your life was great before that, it's going to be great now, right? So stop. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, Jason, is
spit it out.
Just relax, breathe, okay? Nothing's going to happen to VA benefits. You're fine. Under a Trump VA, your benefits are fine. I do think, and I would put money on VA disability not changing outside of the VA SRD, right? We have mental health, tinnitus, sleep apnea. We now have neurological conditions, which is a huge one. We'll have to cover that next week, Jason.
Yeah.
That's going to be a big one. But those changes are going to happen regardless of who's in the White House and regardless of who the VA secretary is, okay?
Right.
Just breathe, man. Breathe. Relax. It's wild that the older generation looks at iPad kids as, uninformed voters is what they will call them. When I say older generation, it's not specific to one side of the aisle, just older people, even myself, right? Look at iPad kids and uninformed voters. I would make the argument of older veterans, doing the same thing. Bro, get off the internet, stop commenting wild stuff, actually read the headline that you're looking at, and enjoy life. That's all. That's really what I want to say to end this video, Jason. What are your thoughts on a Trump VA and disability? And then after that, just go ahead and take it away.
Yeah. So,
that was a long rant. I'm sorry.
So much. Hey, Clay, there's so much to unpack now that you went down this road. Number one, just to double down on Project 2025 is a suggestion think box, right? Think tank. Regardless of who got elected, if it was a conservative to be elected, that would have been the same thing. It's not a Trump specific thing. It's a conservative organization that put together a conservative kind of outline on their suggestions to combat the budget deficit. We also get that from the Congressional Budget Office. And believe me, if you're not aware, the Congressional Budget Office hammers veterans benefits. In
Yes,
fact,
every
they
year.
even said at one point that if your household income was over $170,000, you should get no benefits, no compensation. So that's from the Congressional Budget Office. So these sorts of recommendations, if you will, are always going to be floating around, right? I don't give too much to it. Sure, it's going to spark some thought, that type of stuff. But back to Clay's point, when you look at the way that it's set up, you have a bunch of elected officials that want to be elected again. And if they don't have the ability to be elected again, they want their party and their successor to be elected again. The first 2 years are going to be extremely important for whatever administration is ever in office when they have all three, whether it's Democrat or Republican. If you have all three, if you have the trifecta, you better make sure you're doing the right things and making everybody happy and fulfilling all the promises that you made on your campaign trail, and also not implement anything that's going to become detrimental, because you want the next 2 years through the midterms to reflect the same, okay? The same outcome. You want to retain that control. And again, it doesn't matter if it was, all blue or all red. It doesn't matter. Currently, this is where we're at. It's all red. So that's what's going to want to happen. So do you think for a minute that when you look at the veteran population, and look, these people aren't stupid, although sometimes they do stupid things. They're not stupid when it comes to getting reelected and positioning themselves and the chess game of it all, okay? They understand that veterans are 18 million people. But guess what? There's a good portion that are married, and that spouse is just as vested as the veteran. There's also a good portion that have dependent children that are either going to, at some point, come of age to be able to utilize some of these benefits, like Chapter 35 or whatever else it is. And there's also the parents of some of these veterans who now become dependents. And all of these people are a voting bloc. So you could take that 18 million veteran count and go, okay, what's a number of those that could potentially be impacted, and worry about what things are being implemented as far as legislation is concerned. And you could take that 18 million number, Clay, and you could probably call it 45 million. 45 million is a no joke number of people that you do not want to piss off. Remember, I mean, look, you're getting in the 70 millions to each person that ran for president. 45 million is more than half of either one of those candidates. So this is not a group of people that you want to go swinging an axe around and just chopping things off and not having a care in the world. Here's the other thing, Clay, and you'll totally get it. And actually, everybody should get this, but you get it more when you're in government. When you create a program or a benefit or anything, even if it's temporary, it's very hard to take it away, because all the people that put that into place hung their hat on it, and now everybody who's benefiting from it wants to make sure it stays there. So once you get the whole goal for any organization that benefits from government programs and stuff is to get a program established. I don't care if it's a 1-year pilot program. Let's do that, because then we'll crush it. And then you can't say no because it's done such a great job, because, oh my gosh, if you say no, you're going to hurt all of these people. You don't want that on your record, do you? Right? And so once they giveth, it's hard to take it away, if you will. So VA compensation, I don't believe is going to go anywhere. One thing that I do think will happen is the expedited process of changing the rating schedule, the rating schedules. The VA as you all know, is already in process of changing rating schedules. They've been doing it for I don't know, almost 10 years now, changing them all. Currently, we're waiting on respiratory, auditory, mental health, and neurological rating schedules to be changed. It's not all good. There's some negative impacts in that, and it's starting now. It's not necessarily because the current president. It's because this is what the VA is running this. And the VA is getting the medical input and all of that stuff. We can agree or disagree with what they're doing. And we do consistently say we agree with that and we disagree with that. But they're moving forward nonetheless. There is a spot where you can put public comments in the Federal Register, and I highly suggest people to do that. It's still open for the neurological changes that are going into effect. So take advantage of that. But I think that, Clay, we will obviously see those changes coming. But I think that we may see some loosening of the red tape to get those changes to happen. And in some cases, veterans will benefit faster. And in some cases, well, you know, you're going to have to just eat the dinner you're given, because here it is, right? Mm-hmm. So, for example, the sleep apnea one, if that was an expedited process, instead of it taking 4 or 5 years to go through, you know, if in the future, these things might only take a year to go through. So those changes will come more rapidly. So I think we'll see that on the benefits side. I think that that's really the biggest thing we'll see personally. And then on the healthcare side, I think we're going to see some more, some doubling down on community care and easier access for veterans, especially in rural areas. I do think that will be coming. The last thing I'm going to say here, Clay, and then I want to get your thoughts. I know you said to end it, but we have now Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Coming in as Health and Human Services. Okay. Now, his viewpoints, much like many of our viewers, Clay, look, I got shot up on both sides 1 billion times, right? Who knows what sort of things and ramifications that all of that, and we can all agree that we've all had that thought of, you know, some of this stuff might not even be what we think it is, right? Like some of this stuff might be like testing. Let's test it on these guys because we can, right? The entire DOD. You know, and I don't know if there's any truth to it, but we've all had that thought. And with his stances on all of that stuff, could we potentially see new studies being formed? New, I guess this is causing this type of things, where now all of a sudden we're creating evidence for basically everybody who ever served in the military. And, oh, will he actually look into the military and all the things that are being given to our young men and women? And will he also work in conjunction with our new VA secretary about maybe an additional presumptives, right? I mean, we already have several presumptives that happen just from service alone, that happen well after a year of service, that if you come down with, for example, Hansen's disease or tuberculosis or Lou Gehrig's disease, these are presumptive conditions simply because you served and who knows what sort of exposures you had. I want to get your thoughts on that real quick.